Good morning, and welcome to our Manufacturing Day virtual tour. My name's Beth Gallick, and I'm the Executive Director for the Bay Area Manufacturers Association. BAMA is an industry-focused membership organization serving the manufacturing industry right here in the Tampa Bay region. We're also the official representative of the Florida Makes Network in Tampa. Our solutions are designed to help companies address current challenges, create new opportunities for growth, and achieve measurable results. October is Manufacturing Month, and we've been hosting free virtual events and activities all month long to showcase today's advanced manufacturing technology and high-wage career opportunities. Following the live presentations, all tours are available on demand on the Manufacturing Month Hub. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. If you're having technical difficulties, please click on the square with a question mark found at the bottom of your screen. My team and I will be interacting with you through the event Q&A box. So say good morning and let us know where you're joining us from. We also love questions, so throughout today's presentation, please type your question in the Q&A box. Today, we're visiting Jabil. They're an American worldwide manufacturing services company, headquartered in the Gateway area of St. Petersburg, Florida. Jabil is one of the largest companies in the Tampa Bay area. They have 100 plants in 28 countries and 170,000 employees worldwide. Today, we have two company representatives with us. Please welcome Michelle Gomez. She's the Human Resources Generalist with Jabil. She's been with them for 3 years, working in the Human Resources Department, and most recently, she's been focusing on recruiting and community outreach. We also have Toby Chin. He's the Manufacturing Engineer Intern. He is responsible for making fixtures, managing inventory, and aiding in tooling. So thank you both for joining us. And Michelle, can you start off by telling us why manufacturing is important to you?
Hi, Beth. Thank you so much for that awesome introduction. And yes, I'd love to talk a little bit about that. You know, I've been in this industry for about 3 years now. And before that, I was in the pharmaceutical industry, which has some similarities. And I think what's exciting about this environment is it's very fast paced. So we get to really kind of be on the go and do a lot of fun things every day. But it's also an environment where it really fosters innovation and creativity because we're always having to find ways of doing things more efficiently, make sure that every step that we take it makes sense. And so it gives us an opportunity to really look at how we do things and think of new creative ways of doing that. So I think it's kind of a specific environment where we can do that a lot, and it's been very fun for me.
Wonderful. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And Toby, we'd like to have you introduce yourself and tell us why manufacturing is important to you.
Hello, everyone. As a manufacturing engineer intern, manufacturing is important to me because I know that our company and this works are the final barrier between a product and its end goal destination. You can have the world's best product that can do everything you want and nothing you don't, but your design means nothing if you can't get it out to the people out in the world. Manufacturing to me is making a product and distributing it to the rest of the world so that everyone else can enjoy the products of the engineering world, and it's not just stuck in an idea or a drawing on a screen.
Exactly. It's very important and very exciting too, I'm sure, to see how some of the things you've created are being used. We would like to welcome JP Smith from Aerotech Engineering. Thanks for joining us this morning. We're glad to have you here. So Jabil has put together a virtual tour for us to take a look at. So why don't we go ahead and show that now, and let's take a behind the scenes look at Jabil here in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Welcome to our 2020 Manufacturing Month virtual tour. We are very excited to share with you what Jabil is all about, who we are, and what we do. I will first be sharing some information about what makes us unique, which will be followed by a tour of our general manufacturing process. Hope you enjoy. Jabil is a manufacturing company that builds electronics for a variety of customers in different industries, such as healthcare, defense, and even aerospace. We're all about innovation and creativity. We are an organization that was built on a solid foundation, and here are just a few facts about us. We were founded in 1966 in Michigan by two gentlemen called James and Bill, hence our company name. We have 53.9 million square feet of manufacturing space with 100 plus sites located all around the world. All of our work is made possible by our 260,000 employees. With their amazing dedication and passion, we have been able to make $27.3 billion in revenue in the last year alone. Welcome to our 2020 Manufacturing Month virtual tour. We are very excited to share with you what Jabil is all about, who we are, and what we do. I will first be sharing some information about what makes us unique, which will be followed by a tour of our general manufacturing process. Hope you enjoy. Jabil is a manufacturing company that builds electronics for a variety of customers in different industries, such as healthcare, defense, and even aerospace. We're all about innovation and creativity. We are an organization that was built on a solid foundation, and here are just a few facts about us. We were founded in 1966 in Michigan by two gentlemen called James and Bill, hence our company name. We have 53.9 million square feet of manufacturing space with 100 plus sites located all around the world. All of our work is made possible by our 260,000 employees. With their amazing dedication and passion, we have been able to make $27.3 billion in revenue in the last year alone. Ultimately, our purpose here at Jabil is to make a difference, whether that be in the way we treat each other with respect, extend innovative solutions and always welcome new ideas, give back to our communities through our Jabil Cares initiatives, and respecting the environment. Here at Jabil, we do everything we can to make it possible, but also make it better. Our company culture is determined by our three values: integrity, inspiration, and ingenuity. We believe that in order for us to work together and be successful, we must always do what's right, respect each other while embracing our diversity, and thinking creatively to bring new ideas and solutions. This is what truly makes us unique and a great place to work. We will now be walking you through the steps we take in one of the many areas that we focus on as a company, which is building circuit boards for the defense and aerospace industry.
There are quite a few steps to produce a printed circuit board assembly, or PCBA. Each different assembly has its own characteristics and challenges. The following slides will address a general procedure as to how a PCBA would be made. The first step is the surface mounted technology phase, or SMT for short. It is like a pizza, only a much more expensive and harder to make pizza. It involves the adding and soldering of parts, as the word would suggest, on the surface of a blank printed circuit board, or PCB. A blank PCB is like the dough of a pizza, plain with nothing on it. But the foundation of any good pizza, a good PCB is a good foundation for any PCBA. Next comes the solder paste. This is, at least for our facility, mostly an automated process. This is the equivalent of spreading tomato sauce on the pizza dough. And like the spreading of sauce on the pizza, it should be even. Solder paste is spread by a machine called a screen printer, and it uses metal stencils. The screen printer pushes solder paste into the holes of the stencil, making sure that solder paste goes only where it should and nowhere else. This would be like if you wanted specific sauces on a few places of the pizza and nowhere else. Once that is done, the board with solder paste just applied to it is moved onto something called a Young machine. This machine inspects the board to make sure that the solder paste is applied correctly, since sometimes certain factors can mess up the application of solder paste in the screen printer. This is the equivalent of checking to make sure that tomato sauce on the pizza dough has not been spread to where it is not supposed to be. Next is the component placement machine. In this step, a machine places small to medium-sized components onto the board with solder paste on it. This is the equivalent of placing toppings onto a pizza, only putting them into very specific places and not just throwing them onto the dough like crazy. Next is the equivalent of sending a completed pizza to the oven to bake. In Jabil St. Pete, it is called a reflow oven. This oven is designed to melt the solder paste. Solder paste differs from tomato sauce in the reflow oven compared to a Papa John's or Pizza Hut oven in the fact that the reflow oven is designed to melt down the solder paste and evaporate away any of the flux contained within the solder paste. Flux in solder paste is meant to clean the PCB surfaces from as many impurities as possible, such as oxidation, so that the best joint between intended components and the PCB is made. After melting of the solder paste is complete, the board exits the reflow oven like a pizza rolling out of a Pizza Hut oven. Unlike pizza, where you can pick toppings off of the cheese and the pizza sauce when the pizza is done cooking, when a board comes out of a reflow oven, you should have a solid but thin solder joint between the board and its components. The next step is another Co-Young machine, or a variant of it, to check the board out of the reflow oven. This is to double check the quality of the soldering process, to see if something happened in the reflow oven that should not have happened. This would be like double checking to see if everything on a pizza cooked correctly out of the oven, instead of just immediately sending it out. In a pizza scenario, this is where the process would end. You would box up the pizza and send it out to eat. However, here at Jabil St. Pete, the process usually does not stop there. There are other components that do not just lay on the surface. They go through the board. Their name describes them, through-hole components. Operators or a machine manually place these through-hole components into place as given by work instructions. They then send the board on special tools called pallets to something called a wave solder machine. The wave soldering machine fluxes, preheats, then solders components onto their respective board. When a board exits the wave soldering machine, all the components that were put on manually or by the machine before being put into the wave soldering machine are now soldered onto the board. Even machines cannot be perfect. Sometimes there is leftover flux that is unwanted, or there is an unwanted connection between component leads. To deal with these imperfections, an extra step is added past the wave soldering machine. It is called touch-up. Here, a person inspects the board areas that were soldered for defects. If there are any, the operator is instructed to take appropriate steps to fix the solder joints that are not right. The wave soldering machine usually produces a bulk line pattern of solder to join components to their respective board. Sometimes you don't want to touch certain areas of a board with hot solder. Either you will melt things that should not be melted, or you will desolder parts by accident. In that case, you need to control where the solder comes from and where it goes. Luckily, there is a machine just for that role. It is called a selective soldering machine. Here at Jabil St. Pete, it is called the URSA machine. The URSA has movable solder pots and nozzles. The nozzle, mixed with the pumps, ensure that flow of solder is controlled and goes only where instructed. There is a touch-up step after the URSA machine for the same reasons as the wave soldering machine. At this point, there are 3 points where flux could have been applied to a PCBA in the making. Leftover flux from any of these processes can create problems later down the production process, so all boards are sent through a deionized water wash machine to remove as much flux as possible. Next is another step for quality assurance. It is called the ICT stage. It stands for In-Circuit Test. This step is done either after the wave solder or URSA solder step. This step uses either a bed of nails tester or a flying probe tester to test all possible points of conduction on the board that are relevant to the board working. It helps verify that the production process made a working product and or ensures that there are no dead parts on the board. If a board is not tested or has passed in-circuit testing, it can go through a manual step next. Not all components on a PCBA are soldered on. Some are put on using press-fit machines that utilize friction to keep a tight connection without needing any solder. Depending on the assembly at hand, there could also be a few or many parts that need to be manually screwed down or put onto the board by any other means that a machine cannot do, only a person. One of the last steps in the general process of creating a PCBA is the conformal coating step. This step is dedicated to applying various compounds onto specific or broad areas of the board in order to protect important areas from chemical, thermal, and mechanical issues, with moisture being a prominent problem to keep out. The last step to creating a PCBA is the final test stage. It involves plugging the completed PCBAs into various test equipment and running software through the boards to test and see if it can do the job it needs to perform before it gets into the hands of someone that expects it to work right out of the box. While it may seem redundant, this step is the last chance anyone has at Jabil St. Pete to find any problems before a product is shipped to the customer. There are quite a few steps to produce a printed circuit board assembly, or PCBA. Each different assembly has its own characteristics and challenges. The following slides will address a general procedure as to how a PCBA would be made.
That was so interesting.
I personally love the pizza analogy.
Oh my gosh. How creative. How did they come up with that?
You can thank Toby for that.
Yeah, I talked to a few people I work with in the plant, and we came up, hey, this reminds me of something. Oh, pizza, it's a very precise pepperoni place, or this pepperoni placement machine. Okay, let's run with this whole idea. We can make it sound like a pizza, because it kind of is, at least the SMT phases, and so it works.
Very creative, and I'm sure everyone will remember that. So what a great idea. So thank you both for being with us.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say either that or we've made everyone hungry.
I think a little of both. And typically with our tours, we do them in person, and the students do get pizza. So.
Oh, good.
So next year we'll have to come in person and do the pizza live and in person. But I'd like to thank you both for being here. I'd like to maybe start out with finding out, you talked about why manufacturing is important to you, but with Toby, how did you, get into manufacturing? And can you tell us a little bit about the internship program? Because that might be something that a lot of the students may be interested in.
Okay, so I actually first got into manufacturing out of just some random class I took in college just to fulfill a 12 credit hour requirement to be considered a full-time student. And it was initially just called Intro to Manufacturing, and that class did not actually go over manufacturing processes for boards. It went over for like I-beams for bridges, or for making molds for like bowls. But I guess I do make molds here at Jabil a bit for some products, so I guess some of the stuff carried over. And as for the internship experience here, so here at Jabil St. Pete, leadership luckily takes it very slow. So first, you would just observe, and they slowly ramp up your responsibilities as any good internship would, and you slowly learn. So I never worked with many or any electronics to begin with, especially making them. But over time, I started to learn more and more and more. And suddenly I know enough to be able to create this PowerPoint, which I started like 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I would have been like, oh, no way, you can't make me do this. I don't know anything. So I think the company does a good job at teaching you things over time, which I think that I know that not everyone gets stuff out of the gate. Not everyone's like a photographic learner. I look at a book once and I see every single line of text and I just go, oh, memorize that just like that. If you're like me,
Wow.
you kind of learn a little slower. Like I got to see something like 20, 50 times to be able to memorize it. Like here at Jabil St. Pete, they let you take your time and learn stuff. They don't expect you to be perfect the first time, which I think is a very good forgiving experience.
Exactly. And after 6 months, you're doing great. So what is your favorite part about the job?
My favorite part of the job, it's either one or two things. It's either getting a 3D print to be made, something to actually make for somebody, or it's just fixing a problem on the floor, because I have some tasks here in the St. Pete facility where I have to actually go on the floor and fix something so someone else can get a process running again. Just that, I guess, personal satisfaction that you did something that really helped when people thank you on the floor for, oh, thank you for doing this, Toby, or otherwise I would have had to stop this entire build of an assembly. It's just a small little things to enjoy in life that, I really helped somebody. That feels good. So I like that here.
And one of the most important things I hear from a lot of the manufacturers are teamwork. They look for employees that can work as part of a team. Michelle, can you tell us a little bit about what are some other things you look for in a potential intern or a potential employee?
Yeah, definitely. So I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, teamwork is, one of the most important things. And I think the reason why we do that in manufacturing is because you've seen how the process works. Excuse me. There's a lot of different steps and a lot of different things that have to happen for us to actually be successful in our process. And it's not all just on one person, right? Each employee has their contribution to the final process or the final product. And so it's really, really important in our company, and I'm sure in many manufacturing companies, that people have the flexibility to work in different areas or, work with different people. I think some of the other qualities that we look for, I think one of the important ones is to be open and to be able to adapt to change. We work with, different customers in different industries throughout, not just in the Tampa Bay area, but also throughout the world. That have really amazing and important products, but many times those things, can change. Their needs can change, what they need from us can change, and the way that we can solve any issues or troubleshoot any issues that come up can happen in a moment's time. So a lot of our employees are very adaptable and able to listen to what the new task is and then be able to adapt to get it done. And I think that's probably important, not just in manufacturing, but a lot of the jobs that people are in. And then just being really kind of proud and accountable for your work. I mean, we come to work every day, we're passionate about what we do, and we feel pride that, we're doing a good job, and we'll keep doing everything we can to do a good job. Because from a technical perspective, we do have a lot of positions or a lot of employees that don't necessarily come from a manufacturing background. I know Toby talked a little bit about his background, so he has a little bit of that too. But we have operators out on our floor that are trained and are able to learn, all these steps and are able to practice and really get those skills. And so, that's something that we can teach and train to, but having some of those other qualities will definitely make people successful in manufacturing.
Thank you for that, Michelle. And how much experience does someone have to join Jabil or be in this line of work?
Great question. It really depends on the position and where in the facility you're based. Some of the positions, such as engineering, like Toby's role, and some of our, quality engineers or test engineers or, planners or different people that are in the facility that support the floor do have to have a little bit more experience, potentially a degree in the area, go to college to study, or even work in this type of environment. So those are some of the positions that require that. But we do have a lot of positions and even openings right now where employees can come in entry level, where they maybe have not worked in this environment before. We've had people come from the restaurant industry, hotel industry, different areas that you think are very, very different. And they're able to be very successful because we have a very comprehensive training program that can teach to a lot of these skills. And Jabil is very much about developing and growing within the company. We have a lot of employees. I mean, our average tenure, the average time an employee's with us is about 8 to 12 years. So a lot of people do come in entry level, get trained and learn how to work hands-on on these products, and then really develop their skills to grow within the organization and even into leadership positions. So, it's a great place because there's a lot of diversity. There's, definitely a place for everyone if they're interested.
And how old do you have to be to start?
To start working? We do require for candidates that apply to be at least 18 years of age before they come in to work for us. And that's when we can start some of these entry-level roles or even internships like what Toby's doing. And then in our particular facility where we work, we also have a minimum requirement of a high school degree or GED. So those are just some of the minimum requirements.
Okay, wonderful. And if someone was interested in a position, how would they go about applying?
Great question. So especially right now during COVID, really what we're doing and what we've always done is we post all of our positions that are open in our career website. So, that's jabil.com/career. And that location will actually give everyone the open positions that we have around the globe. So if someone was interested in, relocating and joining Jabil there, that could be too. But all of our positions are posted in there. They provide not just the job title, but the job description and the minimum requirements. So someone can go in and take a look and see what skill sets or what kind of experience is needed to be able to work in a position like that.
Okay, and is your internship paid? And what kind of salary could people look for in maybe an entry-level position, and then after advancing through the company?
So there's a couple of different things there. So we do have internship programs where we've had, I don't think we currently have one right now, but in the past where we've had a group of students come in for a couple of months and work on some projects and support. So that option is there if we have, the group of people to join. But we also have internship positions where people can come in with kind of the intent of turning into full-time eventually. So we have both options. Again, we just look at candidates look at our open positions and go from there to see what's available. From a compensation perspective, our salaries do range depending on where they're at and the level of the position. Usually through our interview process, what we do is we'll talk to, several candidates for a position and interview them. And then once the candidate is selected for the role, we actually go through what we call a compensation analysis. So we look at, the level of the position, where they're at. Is it more entry level or is it, a higher skilled position? And then we also look at the relevant experience that a candidate brings to the table. So it can be, entry level, or it can be higher skilled, and then that will be taken into account or fulcrum weight. So, because of those different variables, we don't usually have like a particular salary because, again, it depends on a lot of different things. But, what I can share is that our most entry-level position in the entire facility with someone with no experience starts at $10.60 an hour, and then we go from there. But again, that's, that does vary based on the profile of the candidate in that position.
Okay, wonderful. And what are some of the benefits or perks to working there?
Oh, there's so many. It is definitely a fun place. I can obviously speak to the specific benefits, but I do really, and Toby, you can speak to this based on your experience, but I do believe it's a very fun environment. One of the things that I, always think about when I think of Jabil is that it is a very kind of informal type of place to work. So everyone's very approachable. You have access to a lot of different talent and a lot of people with different experiences, and it's very easy to just go and talk to them. So I think that's probably when I say perks, that's one of the biggest perks, because there's so much knowledge to be shared. Now, specifically with benefits and perks, we have a lot of different things. Our approach to that is to really give our employees many different options, and then they're able to choose, what they want to sign up for, right? And it's obviously dependent on certain eligibilities, but we have all of the, health, dental, vision insurance. We have stock purchase plan. We have programs to help you save for retirement. We have actually, one of the perks that we have is we have employer discounts. So there's a lot of organizations within the community where if you are a Jabil employee, they will provide certain discounts. And then we have also a website where employees can go in and look for a lot of different stores and products and events and concerts. Well, that's not happening as much right now, but a lot of different things that people can look at on that website and then get discounts just by the fact of being a Jabil employee. So, those are just some examples, but we have a lot going on.
That sounds fantastic. Sounds like a very exciting place to work. And Toby, can you talk a little bit about what a typical day of yours would look like? What is some technology, that you interact with on a regular basis?
Yeah, so working with Microsoft Office Suite is standard. You learned that in high school, so there is a place for that here. But as far as more technical software goes, I usually use Autodesk Inventor. There does exist Dassault SolidWorks here too. So we use those softwares to 3D model fixtures or molds or anything else we need to 3D print. And for 3D printing software, for anyone listening, we use a software called Simplify 3D. It is a paid software, but it is a very comprehensive and powerful software to be able to split CAD files and be able to make what you want, because a CAD file itself cannot be printed. It needs to be converted to G code, and that's a job of Simplify 3D. And as for specific board handling itself, we use something called Valor. And I am still currently training in that software right now. I don't know exactly how to use it. I don't even know the full extent of its powers, but all I know that it is a very powerful software that allows you to look at layer by layer of the board and look at different components, where solder paste should go, keep out zones, text and whatnot. All of that will probably come over time.
And what classes would you say most prepared you for your current job, other than the manufacturing class? I know that wasn't exactly what you're doing now.
So I think the class that most prepared me for this position wasn't really related to engineering. It's more related to teamwork. So from where I graduated from, we had something called a capstone project. A capstone project was where we were placed in a random group of people, so a random team. It could be your friends if you were lucky. It was, most of the time it was not. And you were given a real customer that wanted a real product in a set amount of time. And what I think that capstone project did for me was, as we mentioned before, it taught and fostered teamwork. In college, you're just used to, I go home, I sit in the library, or I sit at home, I just read, I do the homework, I eat and I sleep, and I go to class the next day. But the company is a little more than that, right? You can't just read forever. You actually have to do stuff, and not just alone with other people. So I think that learning to work together, learning to problem solve, learning to compromise, learning to work with each other's schedules is a valuable skill that in hindsight most people probably don't care about, but it is really important to Jabil.
Very good. And what are some changes, Michelle, that have been made in recent months due to COVID, just in keeping your facility and your employees safe?
That's a great question. And I think, I mean, we've all seen how this has posed a challenge for many companies and many of the employees and all of us really. And so it was a really great opportunity, again, to use that creativity and innovation to look at how we can best do this. So, obviously, one of the first things we did was look at the CDC guidelines and see, what is it that we're able to do to keep our employees safe. And that was even more critical for us because, we never really closed. We were deemed an essential business, and so we always stayed open. And so, some of the basic measures we've taken is definitely the temperature screening at the entrance. Every employee gets a face mask when they come into the building and are required to wear it all day. I think that's one of the things that has really helped us. And then within our facility, we practice social distancing. So a lot of our meetings that used to happen have now gone virtual to make sure that everyone is, at their desk or at their office when they're taking these calls. So not large gatherings. And then even just as we're working within our desks, making sure that we have enough distance between each other. And then we do have a cleaning crew that is disinfecting the facility for various times of the day. Doors are kept open so that we don't have to grab the door handles all the time. So some of the little things that sometimes you may not notice that you do, we now had to kind of take a really close look and see, where can we make a difference in those little details to keep everyone safe. So, I truly believe that those, putting those measures in place has really helped us keep all of our employees safe. And our employees are all very conscious about how we can protect each other. So even outside of work, what they're doing at home and what they're bringing into our facility, they're very aware, and we all keep mind that those things can affect how we experience our time at work.
Very good. Sounds like you really thought of everything. And can you tell us a little bit, some initiatives or events that Jabil's involved in to give back to the community?
Yes, one of my favorite topics. In the organization, we have something called Jabil Cares. I think I mentioned it during the video that played through. And it's really, we have dedicated resources to focus on what are some of the things that we can do to give back to the community. So, throughout the year, and obviously some of that has changed a little bit during COVID, so keep that in mind. But, we're involved with a lot of organizations throughout the year. So probably one of our strong partnerships is with all of the sports teams in the area. For example, we work with the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's the hockey team. They have something that they do every game, which is called the Community Hero. So they look through our community and see, select people who are really making a difference, whether it be giving back or, they have their own organizations that make a difference. And the Tampa Bay Lightning organization recognizes them, and we're their main partner. So we're always there present. We're able to, thank those heroes in the community personally during those games. And do what we can to support that program. So we have programs like that with all of the sports teams, which our employees, every now and then get to enjoy going to those events and participating. We also have a lot of community cleanup. So really from an environmental perspective, we look a lot at, where can we help either clean up, trash or, go to the beaches or wherever it is that we may be able to help to at. And then we actually work a lot with communities and schools, whether it be, my favorite one is during the holiday season, we usually do collection drives where people can donate money or toys, and then we wrap them up and, we're able to give back to those schools and help them during the holiday season. So the reason I chose those three examples is because we actually have three specific areas that the organization focuses on, which is the environment. We call it empowerment. So that's whether in education or helping, people find their careers or anything like that. So it's empowerment, education. And then the third one is in the community. Now I'm drawing a blank. Education, empowerment, and environment. Those are the three. So, with that focus, we're able to kind of really invest our resources into helping the environment.
That's great that you have such a detailed plan on how to give back to the community. It's so important. So that's wonderful to hear how involved you are in the community.
Yes, it's very exciting.
Yes, yes, and our Tampa Bay Lightning. Stanley Cup champ. So what advice maybe would you give to students that are in high school or middle school right now? You know, what can they do to prepare themselves, you know, for a career in manufacturing?
That's a great question. You know, I talked a little bit about earlier when you asked some questions about what are some of the requirements for positions that we have here. And I did mention that a lot of them, you know, the minimum is a high school degree or GED. So I think the first thing is to definitely focus on your education, you know, finish your time at school with a great focus and passion. Because that's all information and knowledge that employees could bring into the organization, and you know, those are obviously some of the skills that could come in terms of learning and training, and all of those things continue through a career. So focusing on the education and really kind of putting in your all you'll definitely benefit from that later. But even before that, you know, some of the things that you can start doing now, I think, is just doing a little bit of research. And understanding or asking yourself the questions of, you know, what do I want to do when I grow up, right? I mean, Toby talked a little bit about his experience specifically in college, but you could be exposed to classes or conferences or knowledge, or even speak to people within your community to find out a little bit more about, you know, manufacturing, or what are some of the different things you could do based on your skill set or your strengths. And so I think just, I would call it networking, but really talking to the people in your community to find out and help you find out what you might be able to do when you grow up, or what you might be passionate about might help you prepare for that. Because again, you know, one of the routes is to go to college, but you could also, you know, come directly into the workforce right after high school. And so just putting some time for that research and really asking yourself the questions of what am I passionate about could lead you to where you want to go.
Great advice. And Toby, do you have anything to add? Any suggestions you would have for students?
As of right now, other than learning to work in a team very good and being very sociable, I only have suggestions for coursework. I know that, at least in my high school, there was something called AP Physics, A, B, and C. C encompasses both mechanical and electromagnetism and electronics. A is just mechanical, B is just electromagnetism. If you took AP Physics B and then tried to apply for a position at Jabil, AP Physics B won't give you the end-all be-all, I have a degree right now worth of knowledge, but it will give you a good intro so that when you go to training sessions inside Jabil, you're not blindsided by, I've never seen this before, I've never seen these equations, I've never known how these things work. It's just classes, I think, that could potentially benefit you and create less of a knowledge shock whenever you enter Jabil. That's just my point of
Give
view.
you a little head start.
Yeah, a little head start.
Great. That's great to know. And as we're closing out, is there anything else you'd like to mention about the company or about positions, you know, within your company or manufacturing in general?
I mean, initially, I would say if you know that manufacturing is your journey, take some time to go into our website, look at what we're all about. You know, we are a large organization. We're highly present in the area. So, you know, we would love to see your applications if you were to want to get into that right after school. And you know, again, just do that research, find out, you know, what you're passionate about, and start taking those steps to get there.
Thank you, Michelle. And in closing, Toby, is there anything you'd like to add?
Nothing at the top of my head right now.
Okay. Well, we loved having you here today. We loved learning about Jabil and how to make the pizza and the circuit board. So, and I'd like to remind everyone that this will be available for on-demand viewing. So if you'd like to watch it again or share it with someone else, please do so. We do have a few more tours even going into the month of November. So we're not done yet with Manufacturing Month. But we'd like to thank Michelle and Toby for being here with us and for creating that very, very interesting and creative video, and really bringing it home on, you know, how everyday things can also relate to manufacturing. So I hope everyone has a great afternoon. Go have some pizza for lunch. And thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you.